Okay, so welcome. We're going to do a quick video on introductory video that I want you to start to get used to how to find descriptive statistics. And if you watch my 5 videos on standard deviation as a preparation for this class and follow what I'm doing here, you're going to be about 5 steps ahead of the game. You're going to be basically in modules 2, 3, and 4. That's not to say you shouldn't read and do the activities, but I want to make this so you're ready to hit the ground running and you understand the basics. So if I was teaching, say, basketball, which I played, I would show you how to dribble now and make sure you really learned how to dribble or pass or shoot a free throw. This way the game would not seem alien to you and it's easier. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is, if you'll notice, is you have to add data. You have to add this data analysis tool. So you want to do that, Now we also have Excel stat on this, which is great. And we're going to go into that when we are in class. But this is this is one I've been using for years. And, there are more sophisticated programs, but this does a lot. It'll do all the basic stuff you need to do. So as I showed one of my classes, just simply go to File, and then go down to Options. And when you get down to Options, go to Add-ins. So File, Options, Add-ins. They go down here where it says Manage Add-ins and hit Go. And just click on these two. You don't need to click on the rest of this stuff. Although you're going to want Excel Stat. Okay, you're going to want that too if it shows up as you move along, but definitely these two are ones we're going to work with today. So now, actually mine is loading. So once again, okay, there's Excel stat, but we don't need to do that right now. So now let's go back to data. And now we have the data analysis tool pack up here. So it's being blocked by this, by my timer. So I'm going to click on it. And when I click on it, you're going to notice a lot of stuff you're going to be learning in this semester. ANOVA, correlation, exponential, smoothing, a lot of stuff that's going to come up in our class. And it's going to be interesting. And again, Excel is a more simplistic version of that does this sort of thing. There's more intense versions. Excel Stat does a lot, which we're going to find as we go along. But why don't we just stick with this? So what we want are the descriptives, which means we want to be able to explain the data set. So when you're going to do it, and I want you to do this because when we're in class, I'm going to check that I want you to bring your laptops and you're going to confirm to me that you've done it. Is hit OK. What you're going to do is click on Descriptive Stats till it highlights and say OK. So you're going to do an input range, and that's simple. Now these are the costs. What this is it's the cost of a tune-up. It's a data set with the cost of a tune-up at a particular business, car tune-up. So if you've ever gone for a car tune-up, the cost could vary depending on the parts you need. So that's why this business person decided, let me see what the average cost is or what the variance in cost is so I can arrange my finances a little better. Okay, so that is step one. So we've highlighted all those costs. He's compiled this data. And we know that once we have 30, 40, 50 data sets, we can be pretty confident in our descriptives. And then you want to click on Summary Statistics. And we're going to save confidence intervals for later when we learn that. But summary statistics are enough for today. So we have columns. This is grouped by columns. We have summary statistics. Now all we have to do is say OK. And through the magic of Excel, it's going to give it. And I want you to do this at home. I'm going to attach this spreadsheet to these numbers to this little exercise so you could do it at home. And I want you to get started. But if this was the cost of all of these, and you can kind of eyeball it, different costs, right? Here are your descriptives. The average, or the mean, always means average. The average is $78.98. So the average cost of a tune-up at this store is going to be $78.98 with an error of 197, right? We're going to get into that later when we talk. The median, which is the middle of the data set. What median means, it's the middle of the data set. So if I arrange the data set in order, so if I took this data set and I sorted it by largest to smallest, then it's going to be sorted, right? And you can notice that somewhere in the middle is going to be your median, which is 75.5, and just eyeballing it again, you can see it's somewhere in the middle. The mode is 62, which occurs 1, 2, 3, 4 times. That occurs the most times in our data set. That's what mode is. We're more interested in the average. Obviously tells me a lot, right? The average tells me that the average cost is 78.98. The median is interesting because it tells me what the middle of the data set is. So if there's a skew, or the 78.98 is really more costs are in the 60s and there's a couple of 150s, well then I know by looking at the median, the middle, that there's a bit of what we call a skew, that it's not exactly closely, it's not a tight dispersion, and you're going to get that idea when you watch my standard deviation, and of course I'm going to explain it. Mode just tells me the number that comes up the most, and then the standard deviation, which we're going to be talking a lot about, is about $14. So that means within one standard deviation on the normal bell curve, and again you should watch this after the standard deviation videos, means that the average cost within 66% of the time is either going to be 75.5 plus $14 or 75.5 minus $14. And 95% of the time it's going to be plus or minus 2 times this, which is $27. Is that right? $28. And then 99% of the time we're going to multiply it by 3. So that's why you use standard deviation, because you can back into probabilities. The kurtosis is minus 0.59. And if you look at your data, you have, if the median was here, the average was around here, you have more data that's lower. So what the kurtosis does, which is a derivative of, which is like the second derivative, it tells us how the bell curve is skewed, and in this case it's skewed to the smaller numbers because you got a minus. And skewness actually tells me the shape of the curve. So kurtosis tells me how the numbers skew. Skewness tells me the shape of the curve. The range of numbers is 57, which means the lowest to the highest will be 57. And the smallest is 52, the largest is 109. If I added them all up, it would be 3,949, just so I could double check my numbers, and there's 50 observations. So right off the bat, I've got a good view, and it's a good starting view of what my data looks like. So anytime you run data, and you've cleaned it, or you've looked at it, or you've played with it for a while, running the descriptive statistics gives you a good view of what's going on. We'll come back with more, but this is how you'll get started in this class. Welcome.